With Mushoku Tensei Season 2 coming in 2023, I decided this would be now the perfect time to talk about a scene that I haven't forgotten to this day. Now, regardless of your opinion on Mushoku Tensei and what you think about the series, you have to admit that this series blew up in 2021. I mean, I remember that every episode it aired, there was always discussions in the anime community, and many people were making predictions as to what's to happen next if you were an anime only. However, even if you were a light novel reader, you were still wanting to see how the series was going to animate the events that were happening in the light novel. So with that, it's pretty safe to say that Mushoku Tensei was a very popular series in 2021, and while it did have a lot of insane moments and a lot of memorable moments, there is one scene that I haven't forgotten to this day, and that is the Rudy's crew having the interaction with Orsted, which as a result, if you have watched that scene, you would know that that will lead up to a fight between Rudy's crew and Orsted. But you may be wondering as to what makes this scene unforgettable. Well, it's because in just one scene alone, it showed us how terrifying Orsted is, and this is a character that you shouldn't fight no matter what. Like seriously, this is a character that you should not be enemies with, because it's very clear from just this one scene alone just how scary and just how powerful Orsted is. But let's just start from the beginning. So episode 21 mainly focused on Rudy and his crew, which is Ares and Ruger, about to end their journey after successfully rescuing one of Rudy's sisters and her mother. And there's a scene in which Rudy, Ares, and Ruger are walking in a snowy mountain. However, they're not alone, because in the opposite direction there's actually two people who are walking, one of them being Orsted and the other one being a girl in a mask. However, something Rudy quickly notices is just the fear that Ares and Ruger start to have as soon as this person starts to be close to them, already hinting that there's something going on with Orsted. However, to make the situation even more shocking, Orsted reveals that he happens to know who Ares and Ruger are, despite not having any interaction with him before and having no recollection of ever talking to Orsted. It's very clearly shown that Ares and Ruger are shocked by this revelation. However, the one person that he doesn't seem to remember is Rudy, or has any idea who he actually is. It seems that for some reason Orsted knows Ares and Ruger, but for some reason he doesn't know who Rudy is. However, he doesn't seem to be interested in it and decides to simply keep walking. However, he is stopped by Rudy when Rudy calls him out. Of course, this as a result even shocks Ares and Ruger, to which you can clearly tell that they don't want to be here any longer. But despite this, Rudy questions Orsted, in which one of his questions is how does he know Ares and Ruger? Has he ever interacted with them in the past? To which Orsted responds saying not yet, which creates a mystery as to what he meant by yet. But despite Rudy trying to question Orsted once again what he meant by yet, Orsted has no intentions of revealing any more information to Rudy. However, one other question Rudy has for Orsted is that if he's responsible for the Mana disaster. If you don't know what the Mana disaster is basically the teleportation incident that happened early on in the series, in which there was this whole situation in which the Fetora region and the Asura kingdom, in which out of nowhere citizens were being teleported in random locations. However, Orsted denies having any responsibility for that incident. With nothing else to say, Rudy apologizes for bothering him and decides to start walking away. However, that's when Orsted starts to question Rudy as well, in which his question to Rudy is if he has anything to do with Man-God, to which Rudy without hesitation says that he does know who Man-God is. And that's when this whole scene escalates very quickly, as Orsted just jumps in to attack Rudy, pretty much having the intent to kill, showing us that Orsted seems to have a hatred towards the Man-God. Not only that, but also people who are associated by him. And before you know it, there's a battle between Rudy, Ares, and Ruger against the Dragon God. But despite Ruger and Ares being solid fighters, they are no match for the Dragon God, as he is able to take them down easily, showing us just how powerful the Dragon God is. The fact that he was able to take down two people who are good at fighting just like that, like it's nothing, it's very clear that Orsted is somebody that is not going to be defeated that easily. After Ares and Ruger's defeat, next is Rudy battling with the Dragon God. However, Rudy starts to quickly notice as to why Ruger and Ares were scared in the first place, because it seems that whenever they're around this individual, they start to have fear, and it's very clear that Rudy starts noticing it as well, as just by simply looking at Orsted, there's clearly something going on, and as a result, there is fear growing inside him. But despite that, Rudy is trying his best to take down the Dragon God, and in this situation, in most isekais, normally the OP protagonist of the isekai series is able to take down an opponent like this, which will show just how powerful the protagonist is. However, Mushoku Tensei isn't your typical isekai, because in this situation, despite Rudy being a good mage, his spells and his abilities are unable to defeat Orsted, showing us that this opponent is not an easy opponent. It's not going to be your typical isekai series in which out of nowhere the protagonist wins. No, it's very clear that Rudy is no match for Orsted, and this will be the case when Orsted kills Rudy. That's right, Orsted manages to kill Rudy, and the only reason why Rudy was able to live and actually be able to survive that whole event was because the girl in the mask that was with the dragon god actually convinced Orsted to cast a healing spell in Rudy, showing us that if that was not the case, Rudy would have 100% been dead in that situation. And with that ends the battle between Rudy's crew and Orsted. And after that scene, it's understandable why so many people were talking about this after this episode aired, because this is one of those things in which an isekai series shows our protagonist, who is powerful, being destroyed easily by an opponent that's much more stronger than them. You don't see that a lot in a lot of isekais nowadays. It's usually the protagonist winning somehow against their opponent, but this completely showed us just how terrifying Orsted is. The fact that you don't even have to fight Orsted to see how terrifying he is, just by being around him alone is terrifying enough, as for some reason whenever you are in his presence, you for some reason start to have fear inside you. And there's actually a reason as to why that happens, but I'm not trying to spoil anything because I do happen to read the light novels, and I am reading the light novels currently of Mushoku Tensei, but I do know that there's some anime onlys who are waiting for season 2, so don't worry, I'm not going to spoil anything that happens after the anime, but just know that there's actually an explanation as to why that is. But even without the explanation, it's very clear that Orsted is a very scary individual. The fact that just by looking at him and being around him terrorizes people is just enough to show us how much of a threat Orsted is. Not only that, but he has no hesitation in killing people who are associated with Mangod, which at that moment nobody really knew why Rudy was attacked by Orsted, as soon as Rudy revealed that he has some sort of association with Mangod. But it's very clear that the dragon god hates the Mangod for some reason. And you know an opponent is terrifying where even the protagonists themselves admit that they're weak and they're not strong enough to defeat this individual. That's right, Rudy admits that he wasn't strong enough to defeat Orsted. Sure, he did have things that did slow Orsted down, but at the end of the day, Orsted won. He defeated Rudy, and as a result, Rudy's new goal is to become stronger, because he doesn't want a situation like that to ever happen again to him. It's very clear that Rudy does want to live on in this new world, so he's going to do whatever it takes to be strong, because he doesn't want to be defeated like that ever again. And one last thing that makes Orsted terrifying is that we don't know what he's fully capable of. Of course, we see him defeat Rudy, Ares, and Ruger, but we don't know how much of it was he holding back. Like, he could have easily done something to make this fight shorter, but it seems that he didn't, which leaves a question as to how powerful Orsted really is. Was he holding back in this fight, or had he actually been serious, could we have seen a different outcome? Who knows? And of course, like I said, there are things that happen after this, after the anime, but I'm not going to spoil it because I'm trying to keep it spoiler free. But yeah, just know that there are more things to come with Orsted. And just this scene alone made me more interested in Orsted, which is another highlight about this scene. The fact that just one scene alone was able to make me interested in one character just like that, just in one scene. Sure, he was brought up and he was shown in episodes earlier of the series, but this scene proved that there were so many things about Orsted that are still yet unknown, and that's what makes it really more interesting, because now you want to find out more about Orsted and what is his next move, or when he's going to be back in the series. When is he going to be in the spotlight once again? And with that, that's pretty much the entire video. Just want to talk about this scene because this is a scene I still haven't forgotten about, and it further proves why you should expect the unexpected in Mushoku Tensei. But yeah, that's pretty much the entire video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.